1. Pull out your last 3 pool store receipts. If you do not have them, estimate. A typical pool store visit runs $80 to $110. Most pool owners make 4 to 6 visits a summer. Add the monthly service tech if you have one at $120 to $180 a month. Add the emergency treatment when the algae came back in August. Add the specialty bottle the counterperson recommended last June that you used once and still have 3/4 full under the equipment shed. Add it all up and sit with the number for a moment. 1. Most pool owners who run this calculation for the first time land somewhere between $800 and $2,000 for a single summer season. Not the cost of owning the pool, not the equipment, the water, the electricity for the pump, just the chemistry. Just the bottles and bags and jugs purchased across a 5-month swimming season to keep the water clear and safe. $800 to $2,000 every season. For the life of the pool. Here is the number that should reframe everything. 1. The raw chemistry keeping that water clear, the actual compounds doing the real work, costs $150 to $200 a season when purchased correctly, not from a discount pool supply warehouse. Not with a professional account or bulk pricing unavailable to homeowners, from the grocery store and the hardware store that you drive past on the way to the pool store. The same compounds, the same molecules doing the same chemistry in the same water, at 20 to 30 cents on the dollar compared to the pool store price. The 70% reduction in pool chemical costs is not a stretch goal or a best-case estimate. It is what happens when you know what the active ingredients in your pool store products actually are, and where to buy those compounds without the specialty markup. Owners who make this switch do not sacrifice water quality. They do not take shortcuts that cost them more in the long run. They swim in clearer, more comfortable water at a fraction of the previous cost because they stopped paying for the picture on the front of the bottle and started buying the chemistry on the back. 90% of pool owners have never been shown what their pool store products actually are at the molecular level. 1. By the end of this video, you will know every substitution, every dose, the one honest line between what you can buy at the grocery store and what genuinely belongs at the pool store, and the complete system that keeps a residential pool clear all summer for under $200. The 70% reduction starts on your next shopping trip. Before the substitutions, you need to understand how the pool chemical industry prices its products, because once you understand the model, every pool store shelf looks different and every purchase decision changes. 1. Pool chemicals are not priced based on what they cost to produce. They are priced based on what the market will pay for a branded specialty product sold in a context where the buyer does not know what the active ingredient is. That context, a specialty store with trained staff, professional-looking packaging, and a test result printout that recommends specific products, is designed to create a purchasing environment where the buyer trusts the recommendation and does not comparison shop against the grocery store. The markup on individual products varies significantly. 1. Liquid chlorine carries a modest markup because homeowners are aware it is a commodity and the concentration difference from bleach is visible. Alkalinity increaser carries a dramatic markup because almost no residential pool owner knows that the active ingredient is baking soda. pH up carries a significant markup because washing soda and borax are not products most pool owners associate with pool chemistry. Algaecide carries the most unjustifiable markup because the problem it treats is one that correct chlorine management makes unnecessary in the first place. 1. The compounding effect of these individual markups across an entire season of purchases is what produces the $800 to $2,000 seasonal spend. No single purchase is outrageous in isolation. The alkalinity increaser at $18 feels like a reasonable specialty product price. It is only when you know that the identical compound is $1 a pound at the grocery store that the $18 becomes indefensible. Multiply that indefensibility across every product on the receipt, and you have the pool store business model in its entirety. The way out of the model is not to stop maintaining your pool. It is to know what each product is and source it correctly. That knowledge takes 20 minutes to acquire and saves hundreds of dollars every season from the moment you have it. This is the substitution that saves the most money per purchase, and the one that makes pool owners most disbelieving when they first hear it, because it sounds too simple to be true, and the pool store has been selling it successfully for decades precisely because it sounds too simple to be true. Alkalinity up, total alkalinity increaser, pH buffer, carbonate booster. Every product name is different. 1. The active ingredient is identical on every back label. Sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, the same compound in the orange arm and hammer box in the baking aisle of every grocery store. Not a similar compound, not a chemically comparable compound. The identical compound at the identical molecular level, with the identical effect on pool water alkalinity. The pool store sells alkalinity increaser for $15 to $20 for a 4-pound tub. The grocery store sells baking soda for $1 per pound, available in bulk bags at wholesale clubs for even less. The pool store product costs $4 to $5 per pound. The grocery store product costs $1 per pound. The markup is 400% to 500% for the same compound. For most residential pools, a season of alkalinity management requires 4 to 8 pounds of baking soda spread across multiple corrections throughout the summer. At grocery store prices, that is $4 to $8. At pool store prices, that is $30 to $40. The saving on this single substitution alone runs $25 to $35 per season. Across a 10-year pool ownership, that is $250 to $350 saved on one compound. The dose is identical to what the pool store product instructs. 1. For a 10,000-gallon pool, 1.5 pounds of baking soda raises total alkalinity by approximately 10 parts per million. Add with the pump running, broadcast across the surface rather than dumping in one spot, wait 4 hours before retesting. The pool water does not know which box the sodium bicarbonate came from. It responds to the compound. The compound is the same. One important note, do not use baking powder. Baking powder contains additional ingredients that are not suitable for pool water. Plain baking soda only. The box should list sodium bicarbonate as the only ingredient and nothing else. 1 Frach up, pH increaser, pH plus, carbonate balancer. Again, every name is different. The active ingredients are sodium carbonate, washing soda, or in some formulations sodium bicarbonate. All of them are available in the laundry aisle for a fraction of the pool store price. Borax, sold as 20 Mule Team Borax in the laundry aisle, raises pH with less impact on alkalinity than washing soda. This makes it the cleaner tool for most pH raising needs in a pool that already has alkalinity in the correct range. 1A. 76-ounce box of borax costs $5 to $7 and handles all the pH raising needs of most residential pools for an entire season. The pool store pH up equivalent costs $12 to $18 for a smaller quantity. Washing soda, sold as arm and hammer super washing soda in the laundry aisle, raises pH more aggressively and is the right choice when a larger pH correction is needed. A box costs $4 to $5. Same aisle, same shopping trip as the borax. The additional benefit of borax beyond pH raising is the borate buffer system it establishes when used at the correct dose. 100 pounds of borax broadcast into a 10,000-gallon pool, with the pump running, establishes borates at approximately 50 parts per million, creating a chemical stability system that holds pH in range through the forces that would otherwise push it out of range daily. This is the system hotel pools use. It converts the pH raising product from a recurring weekly purchase into a one-time seasonal setup, with minimal top-up. The pool store has no version of this benefit to offer because the borate system, once established, eliminates most of the recurring pH product purchases it relies on. 1 pH down, pH minus, pH decreaser. Active ingredient, sodium bisulfate, also called dry acid. The pool store sells it for $18 to $25 for a small container. The hardware store sells muriatic acid, which does the same job faster and more cost-effectively, for $10 per gallon. A gallon handles most of a season's pH lowering needs for a residential pool. Muriatic acid is what pool professionals actually use for pH reduction. The pool store sells dry acid to residential customers because dry acid is safer to handle and ship, which is a legitimate consideration. 1. But the cost difference per unit of pH reduction is significant, and experienced pool owners almost universally use muriatic acid rather than dry acid. The safety protocols for muriatic acid are straightforward. Always dilute in a bucket of pool water before adding to the pool. Add acid to water, never water to acid. Pour slowly at the deep end of the pool away from the skimmer, lights and fittings with the pump running. Wear eye protection and closed shoes when handling. Store with the cap secured in a location away from other chemicals. These precautions are not complicated. When? They are the same precautions any pool professional takes as a matter of routine. The dose for pH correction in a 10,000-gallon pool, approximately 8 to 12 ounces of muriatic acid, lowers pH by approximately 0.2 units. Add in stages, test between stages, and never add more than 16 ounces at a time without retesting. pH can overshoot, and a pH below 7.0 is corrosive to pool surfaces and equipment. Small doses, staged additions, and retesting between stages is the correct approach. 1. This is the substitution that saves the most total money across a season because chlorine is the highest frequency purchase in pool chemistry. Daily or near daily additions in summer mean the per unit cost difference compounds quickly into significant seasonal savings. Liquid pool chlorine is sodium hypochlorite at 10% to 12.5% concentration. Plain unscented household bleach is sodium hypochlorite at 6% to 8.25% concentration. The chemistry is identical. The concentration is lower, which means you use proportionally more volume to deliver the same amount of active chlorine. 1. The cost math still favors bleach significantly. A gallon of liquid pool chlorine at 10% costs $6 to dollars gotten all at dollars. One. During a summer price spike on pool chlorine, when the pool store is charging $10 to $14 per gallon, the bleach equivalent costs $6.40. The savings during peak demand are the most significant of the season. The qualification that matters and cannot be skipped: the bleach must be plain and unscented. The label must list sodium hypochlorite as the only active ingredient with a percentage, no splash guard formula, no scented variety, no outdoor bleach with surfactants, no thickened gel, no cleaning additives of any kind. Plain, unscented sodium hypochlorite and water only. Any additive beyond sodium hypochlorite and water has the potential to cause problems in pool water, including foaming, residue, or interference with chemistry readings. Read the label every time you buy a new brand or a new formulation. The dose calculation for daily maintenance using 6% bleach in a 10,000-gallon pool: 21 ounces raises free chlorine by 1 part per million. Most pools in July require 1 to 2 parts per million of added chlorine per day to stay in the 2 to 4 parts per million target range. That is 21 to 42 ounces of bleach added at dusk each evening. 1 cost per day: 0.35 to Lowe's 370 cents. Cost per day using pool store liquid chlorine at peak summer pricing: 0.90 Seth Delura Delura Dewart 40 Seth. The daily difference is modest. Across a 90-day summer season, the difference is $50 to $65 in daily maintenance chlorine alone. This substitution saves money differently from the others because the correct substitution is not a different product at a lower price. It is the elimination of the product entirely through the correct management of the chemistry that makes algaecide necessary. Algaecide works by killing algae cells through a chemical mechanism separate from chlorine. It is useful as an emergency intervention in certain specific situations. It is not useful as a weekly preventive treatment in a pool with correct free chlorine, correct pH, and adequate stabilizer, because a pool in those conditions does not develop algae regardless of whether algaecide is present. The weekly algaecide bottle is solving a problem that does not exist in a correctly maintained pool. The pool store recommends weekly algaecide for the same reason it recommends most recurring products. The recommendation generates a weekly purchase. An owner who understands that correct chlorine and pH management eliminates the conditions for algae growth stops buying algaecide. From the pool store's perspective, that owner has gone from 12 algaecide purchases per season to 0. The financial incentive to make the correct recommendation is negative. Eliminate the weekly algaecide from your purchase routine and replace it with the daily 2-minute morning test that catches chlorine and pH drift before it creates the conditions algae needs. The morning test costs pennies per day in test strips. 1. The weekly algaecide costs $15 to $25 per bottle. The morning test is more effective at preventing algae because it addresses the cause. The algaecide addresses the symptom after the cause has already created a problem. Savings from eliminating weekly algaecide, $180 to $300 per season. Here is everything you need for an entire season of pool chemistry sourced correctly. Print this list or screenshot it before your next shopping trip. Grocery store or wholesale club, plain unscented bleach in bulk, 6 to 10 large jugs to start the season. 1 baking soda in bulk bags, 5 to 10 pounds for alkalinity management. Arm & Hammer 20 Mule Team Borax from the laundry aisle, 1 to 2 boxes for pH raising and the borate system setup. Hardware store, muriatic acid, 1 gallon. Safety glasses and chemical-resistant gloves if you do not already have them. Pool store, 1 trip at the start of the season only. Cyanuric acid granules, 5 to 10 pounds depending on pool size and current CYA level. Calcium hypochlorite shock in a bulk bucket, 25 pounds, which handles a full season of weekly shocking and emergency slam treatments. 1 Taylor K2006 drop test kit or equivalent for accurate testing. Borate test strips, 1 bottle for confirming the borate system level. That is the complete list. 2 grocery store or hardware store trips, 1 pool store trip at the start of the season. The pool store trip buys 4 items that genuinely belong there: CYA, Cal Hypo Shock in bulk, an accurate test kit, and borate strips. Everything else on the pool store wall that you previously bought throughout the season comes off the shopping list permanently. Run this comparison against your actual seasonal spending to see where your specific 70% comes from. Previous pool store seasonal spend for a typical 15,000-gallon residential pool: liquid chlorine through the season at $8 per gallon, 2 gallons per week for 20 weeks, $320. Alkalinity increaser 4 purchases at $18 each, $72 pH up. 6 purchases at $15 each, $90 pH down. 4 purchases at $22 each, $88. Weekly algaecide, 12 bottles at $20 each, $240. Specialty shock 8 bags at $10 each, $80. Clarifier 3 bottles at $16 each, $48. 1 pool store free water test impulse purchases, $120. Total, approximately $1,058 per season. Grocery store method seasonal spend for the same 15,000-gallon pool. Bleach through the season, approximately 65 jugs of 6% bleach across 20 weeks of daily additions, plus weekly shocks at $4 per jug, $260. Baking soda for alkalinity, 6 pounds at $1 per pound, $6. Borax for pH raising and borate system setup, 2 boxes at $6 each. $12. Muriatic acid for pH lowering, 1 gallon at 10 tests, $10. Pool store items, CYA, $25. Cal Hypo Shock bulk bucket, $35. Drop test kit if replacing, $30. 1 borate test strips, $10. Total, approximately $388 per season. The difference, $670 per season. Percentage reduction, 63% with the elimination of monthly service tech visits at $150 each across 5 months. The total savings exceeds 70% comfortably. The 70% reduction is conservative for pool owners who have both a service tech and a regular pool store habit. I put it all together in a 39-page guide called the Pool Carder Playbook, From Green to Crystal Clear. Normally $67, right now just $29.99. It covers the complete grocery store method with exact doses for every application, the full slam process for green pools without a service call, a printable weekly routine, and the 5 numbers that run your entire pool all season. I went from spending $600 a season to under $150, and my water has never looked better. The link is below this video, 7-day refund guarantee, instant PDF download. Let's finish the system. This channel draws honest lines, because the line between what belongs at the grocery store and what genuinely belongs at the pool store is real, and crossing it in the wrong direction costs money. These are the 5 products that belong at the pool store and why no grocery store or hardware store alternative does the same job. Product 1, cyanuric acid granules. Stabilizer is a pool-specific compound that protects chlorine from UV destruction and has no grocery store or hardware store equivalent. One without adequate stabilizer at 30 to 50 parts per million. Bleach additions burn off under summer sun within hours, and the daily maintenance math stops working. Buy it from the pool store or a pool supply source. It is one of the purchases that genuinely justifies the trip. Product 2, calcium hypochlorite granular shock. Cal Hypo at 68% available chlorine raises free chlorine faster and higher per pound than bleach can achieve, which matters for green pool slams and heavy shock situations. One bought in bulk at the pool store in a 25-pound bucket. The per treatment cost is low, and the bucket lasts the entire season. This is the one chlorine product that genuinely earns its pool store price point when purchased in bulk. Product 3, a drop test kit. The Taylor K2006 or equivalent accurate chemistry management requires accurate testing, and test strips, while adequate for daily quick checks, are not reliable enough for the cyanuric acid and combined chlorine readings that matter most for diagnosing chemistry problems. 1A $25 to $35 drop test kit is a one-time purchase that pays for itself on the first use by giving you the accuracy needed to dose corrections correctly. Product 4, calcium chloride for calcium hardness correction. If your pool's calcium hardness drops below 200 parts per million, the water begins extracting calcium from plaster surfaces, grout, and heat exchanger metals. Calcium chloride is the correct fix, and it is sold at pool stores as calcium hardness increaser. No grocery store equivalent raises calcium hardness safely. Buy it as needed, which for most pools is once every season or 2. One product 5. Borate test strips. Inexpensive, available at pool stores or online, and the only way to accurately confirm your borate level after the initial borax treatment. Your standard drop test kit does not test borates. A $10 bottle of borate strips tests the level that the borate buffer system runs on and confirms the setup was done correctly. 5 products. One trip at the start of the season covers all of them. Everything else on the pool store wall is a grocery store or hardware store item at a specialty markup. 1 owners who attempt the grocery store switch and do not achieve the expected savings almost always make one of 3 mistakes. All 3 are avoidable once you know them. Mistake 1, using scented or additive bleach. This is the most common mistake and the one that produces the most confusing results. Scented bleach adds fragrance compounds that create foam in pool water. Splash guard bleach contains surfactants that interfere with water chemistry. Outdoor bleach formulations add compounds that affect pH unpredictably. 1. Any bleach that is not plain, unscented, and labeled with sodium hypochlorite as the only active ingredient does not work correctly in pool water and cannot be used as a liquid chlorine substitute. Plain and unscented are not preferences, they are requirements. Read the label every time. Mistake 2. Adding bleach in the morning instead of at dusk. Bleach added to pool water under direct summer sun loses 50% to 90% of its dose to UV destruction before it can fully circulate and work. An owner adding bleach at 9 in the morning and testing at noon who concludes the bleach is not raising chlorine as expected is not seeing a bleach failure. They are seeing UV working faster than the bleach can distribute. Always add bleach at dusk when UV is off the water. The dose added at dusk works through the night unimpeded, and the morning test shows the full result. Mistake 3, skipping the pH correction before adding chlorine. Bleach added to water above pH 7.8 operates at a fraction of its potential effectiveness. An owner who switches to bleach but does not check pH before adding chlorine will find that bleach seems less effective than pool store liquid chlorine. It is not less effective. It is going into water where chlorine cannot work correctly, which is the same problem pool store liquid chlorine has in the same water. Fix pH to 7.4 to 7.6 before adding chlorine. Every time, this is the rule that makes the switch work correctly. The 70% reduction is not a one-time result from switching products on one shopping trip. It is a permanent reduction locked in by a system that keeps the pool chemistry stable enough that the expensive reactive products, the clarifiers, the specialty algaecides, the emergency treatments are never needed because the conditions that would require them never form. The system has 3 layers that work together. Each layer supports the others, and the combined effect is a pool that costs $150 to $200 per season in chemistry, regardless of how hot the summer is, how many people swim in it, or how aggressively the UV works on the chlorine. Layer 1 is the borate buffer. One established once with borax at the start of the season, it holds pH stable through the aeration and swimmer load that would otherwise push pH out of range daily and require frequent pH correction purchases. With the borate system running, the pH up and pH down purchases that previously cost $90 to $130 per season drop to occasional muriatic acid corrections totaling $10 to $15 for the season. Layer 2 is the daily 2-minute test, free chlorine and pH every morning with a test strip. Small drifts caught daily become small corrections costing cents per day. 1 small drifts not caught become green pools requiring slam treatments, costing $30 to $80. The daily test converts large occasional expenses into tiny daily adjustments. The cost of a test strip per day across the season, approximately $18 total. The cost of the green pool treatments it prevents, $30 to $200 each. Layer 3 is the correct pump run time and weekly brush, 8 to 12 hours of circulation daily, keeps water moving through the filter instead of sitting warm and still where algae establishes. A 3-minute weekly brush breaks up early-stage algae colonies in dead zones before they become visible. Together, these 2 habits eliminate the conditions that produce the algae treatments, emergency shock purchases, and service calls that represent the most expensive line items in the reactive pool store approach. 3 layers, 1 one-time setup, 1 2-minute daily habit, 1 pump timer setting, and 1 3-minute weekly brush. The combined cost of running all 3 under $200 per season in chemistry. 1. The combined cost of not running all 3 in a pool maintained reactively, $800 to $2,000 per season. Pool professionals have known about these substitutions for decades. The baking soda and alkalinity increaser identity has been in chemistry reference materials since before most residential pool owners started buying pool chemicals. The bleach and liquid pool chlorine equivalence has been common knowledge in the professional pool industry for 40 years. 1. The borate buffer system has been standard practice in commercial aquatic facilities including hotels, water parks, and university pools for decades. None of it was ever aggressively communicated to residential pool owners, not because the information was hidden or secret, because the parties best positioned to communicate it, the pool store, the service route company, the chemical manufacturer, had financial interests that ran directly counter to communicating it. A pool owner who knows that alkalinity increaser is baking soda stops buying alkalinity increaser from the pool store. 1A pool owner who knows that bleach is liquid chlorine stops buying liquid chlorine at peak summer prices. A pool owner who knows the borate system eliminates most pH product purchases stops making the pH up and pH down purchases that generate recurring margin. The 40-year gap between what professionals knew and what residential owners were told is a financial gap. The information was not expensive to share. It was expensive to share for the parties who held it. 1. The cost of that gap for the average pool owner over a 10-year ownership runs $5,000 to $10,000 in preventable pool store spending. This video closes that gap. The substitution list above closes that gap. The system that locks in the 70% reduction permanently closes that gap. None of it requires more than 20 minutes of learning and 1 different shopping trip. The investment of time is 20 minutes. The return is $600 to $1,500 per season for the rest of the time you own a pool. Pool owners who make this switch consistently describe the same experience at the end of their first season using the grocery store method. They total up the chemistry spend and the number is different enough from previous seasons to feel like a mistake. They recount, it is not a mistake. The bleach receipts, the baking soda, the one pool store trip at the start of the season, the total is $150 to $200 for a full summer of clear, comfortable water. Then they calculate what they spent the previous season. The number they arrive at makes the current season's total look even more implausible. 1. The previous season's spend was real. The current season's spend is real. The difference between them is the same information that has been in chemistry reference materials for 40 years and that the pool store was never going to put on a sign above the alkalinity increaser. The first season using the grocery store method is the last season spending $800 to $2,000 on pool chemistry. Not because the pool requires less chemistry. 1. Because the chemistry is sourced correctly for the first time, the system is running correctly for the first time, and the expensive reactive purchases that dominated previous receipts are no longer happening because the conditions that required them are no longer forming. The 70% reduction is the starting point for most owners who make this switch. Owners who previously had a service tech and switched to self-management with the grocery store method frequently achieve 80% to 90% reductions from their previous total spend. The math is simple. The chemistry is straightforward. 1. The only thing that was missing was the information. Now you have it. Look at every line item in the pool store receipt that disappears when the grocery store method runs correctly. The weekly algaecide disappears because correct chlorine and pH management makes algae impossible. The clarifier disappears because correct chemistry and filtration keep the water clear without a flocculant. The specialty pH products disappear because the borate system holds pH stable enough that corrections are rare and muriatic acid handles them for $10 a season. 1. The emergency treatments disappear because the daily 2-minute test catches every drift before it becomes an emergency. What remains is the chemistry that genuinely belongs in pool water. Chlorine, sourced as bleach at grocery store prices. Alkalinity support, sourced as baking soda at grocery store prices. pH management, sourced as borax and muriatic acid at grocery and hardware store prices. And the 4 pool store items, cyanuric acid, cal hyposhock, a good test kit, and borate strips that genuinely earn their place in the pool chemistry program. 1. The pool store wall is not selling you pool chemistry. It is selling you branded commodity chemistry at specialty prices, organized by the problem each product claims to solve, in an environment where you are unlikely to question whether the active ingredient is available somewhere else for a fifth of the price. The grocery store aisle is selling you the same chemistry without the branding, the specialty context, or the markup. The water in your pool cannot read the label, it responds to the compound. The compound is the same wherever you buy it. 70% off starts on your next shopping trip. Not next season. Not after you finish the current pool store products on the next trip to the grocery store and the hardware store that you were already planning to make. If you made this switch and tracked the savings, drop it in the comments. What was your previous seasonal spend and what did it drop to in the first year? That number, documented by real pool owners across a real summer, is the most convincing argument for anyone still on the fence about making the change. Every video on this channel works the same way. 1 real numbers, no sponsors, no pool store upsell. If that is useful to you, subscribe. This channel reads the water, not the marketing.